call this meeting to order. Would you please stand with me and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First on our agenda is we're going to go over our commission reports, and we'll start with Commissioner Pennell.
No report.
Okay, Commissioner Olson.
I have a meeting at Mason Transit Authority tomorrow, and that's my week.
Okay, and I have a Wednesday morning be a criminal justice meeting, and then on Thursday I will be attending a MACECOM meeting, and that is my report. Next on the agenda is an opportunity for the general public to comment, and we have one person that was going to say something today. If you please take and sign in over there, then come up and speak to us, and we'll.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'm really excited for the opportunity to be here. I won't read this very long press release that someone other than I wrote, but I'll highlight some pieces in it, and if there's nothing else, if people want some questions, I'll be happy to answer that. But proudly, Mason Matters, working on behalf of Mason County, has been awarded one of 18 awardees, a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Roadmaps to Health grant. And according to Robert Wood Johnson, this was the most competitive grant process they have been through in their numerous years of doing community projects. So we should, as community, should be really proud. And the strength of this is not a Mason Matters project, it's the strength of our school, all 7 of our school districts, and our 2 chambers of commerce, and some outside partners really wrote a very compelling proposal that we have been happy to fund. And what it's focusing on is both, actually Don Pennell and Steve Goins participated in the Mason County Community Health Improvement Planning process, and I'm sure they shared information at staff meetings about that. But that group, based upon data, identified top strategic health priorities, and the top strategic health priority identified that group was ready and prepared workforce and living wage jobs in a set of 7 top priorities. And the timing came along for us to write a proposal with the research suggesting that education attainment is one of the most strongest predictors of increasing health, the health of a community, and that a college and career readiness initiative that we wrote the grant is one of these critical steps in helping us create a college, what we're calling a college and career readiness student body graduating from our high school. So this grant is supporting a 2-year initiative. We are our OSPI, that's our Department of Education, but they go under OSPI at the state, is excited about this project because the project aligns very naturally with the new federal state standards called Common Core Education Standards, and we are developing those elements in this particular grant. But most important, what this grant does is it recognizes that the world of work element that many businesses complain that the schools are not producing youth that are ready for the world of work is a recognition that the real teachers and that experience is actually with our businesses and our current workforce. And what this grant is doing is creating space and an open invitation, but most importantly, tools and systems so businesses can come into the classrooms in partnership with the schools to make connection between what youth are actually learning and how that actually gets used by all of us in our jobs. And so it's a nice alignment to be able for the business and schools to come together to add meaningful and relevant application of the world of work as all of us demonstrated in the jobs we do in here in Mason County. And then again start to expand the conversations that we can have with our youth about all the opportunities and career paths that are available, whether they choose to stay in Mason County or move away. And so what this grant is providing those 2 years of foundation to build that infrastructure, as well as starting to launch a community campaign that starts to establish ourselves as we are a community where our kids our college and career ready. It's not the motto of the campaign, but in my naive language is I want this community to be a community where our kids all dream, they dream big, and they're really lucky they live in Mason County because this is a community to make those dreams come true, and that's what this project's about. So we should all be proud, and I'm happy to answer any questions, more specific questions. Unless you all want to leave or leave really fast. Thank you.
Well, I
Oh,
did
you
have
have
a
a
question, yes. I was just, not a question, but I was just reading through your material here, and it looks like you were selected, is this 18 out of 400 applicants?
Correct, over 400.
Wow,
Yeah.
so that's pretty impressive.
That is very impressive. And as I say, the real strength was when we had our new world of grants now, we actually had a virtual site visit on Skype. It was an interesting process, but we had a virtual site visit on Skype, and I'll tell you, it was the strength of our business partners, particularly Heidi McCutcheon and Dan Goodall with the Chambers, and our school partners that were so articulate about the need and passionate about the need. So,
Great.
yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
So as a business employer,
Oh.
we'll be connecting in with you guys and finding a way for you to connect into the program.
All right, thank you very much, Kim. Next is our consent agenda, and my fellow commissioners had an ample time to review the information in the consent agenda. If you have, then Leslie Ann, could we please have the reading of the consent agenda?
Consent agenda, vouchers numbered 79867 through 79978 in the amount of $244,662.88. Payroll warrants numbered 68236 through 68415 in the amount of $594,174.17. Manual warrants numbered 79863 to Nova Contracting, Inc. in the amount of $347,324.62. Number 79866 to Shelton Auto Loan Company in the amount of $131,000. Commission meeting minutes from business meeting of November 19th, 2012, study session of November 26th, 2012. Civic Center rotating art recommendations, Barbara DePiro, photography, Stephen Kaczynski, photography, mixed media. New financial system, permitting mapping software and web-based services. Software services contract with Tyler Technologies. Authorize the mayor to sign. Dayton Airport Road Water Main Expansion Project, construction and materials testing services. Materials Testing, Inc. contract. Authorize the mayor to sign when returned from contractor and city administrator to make any necessary budget adjustments. City of Shelton and Mason County interlocal agreement for probation services. Authorize the mayor to sign. 2013 through 2018 strategic plan.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
I move we approve the consent agenda as read.
Motion?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes carry, the motion carries. Thank you. Next is old business, and under old business, we have one item, and that's our work plan, and that'll be a briefing that our city administrator, Dave O'Leary, will be giving to us tonight.
Okay. This is brought back under old business because it was on last week's agenda, and there was one project, the 6th Street Park, which had not been added to the works plan and probably should have been. Before I got through, before I actually got to preparing this to come back to you, Vicki suggested to me, well, maybe we should include the computer network infrastructure in there as well. That's something that's a fairly big job and arguably should go on the work plan, and so I've added it as well. So and it's actually in the budget for the computer network infrastructure. So that concludes staff's report. Staff recommends the commission approve the 2013 work plan as amended. You can see the amendments; they're underlined since last week.
Any questions or comments about the work plan? It looked like a pretty bold and aggressive agenda for the city of Shelton, but as we have seen over the past few weeks, that we have been able to accomplish a lot of things that we do project in the future to do. And so this looks exciting for me. I underlined a lot of things that are very much important for the city of Shelton, and I'm sure the citizens would love to see some of these things come to pass. So at this time, if there's any public comment on this action item, we have the opportunity for the public to speak if there's anyone here that would like to do that. If not, is there a motion to approve the 2013 work plan?
I will make a motion that the City Commission approve the 2013 work plan as presented.
I'd second that.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Next is, it looks like, is a sewer funding advocacy contract issue.
First, I want to make a correction within the staff report. There was a estimated cost of, for the Basin 3 project at $5 million. Staff's thinking that the engineering staff think that's probably closer to $4 million. Nevertheless, it's a lot of money. This whole process started a few weeks ago in Olympia at the regional meeting that they have for cities. We have, and what we learned about there was a city that had gotten a legislative appropriation to help them do sewer project. And it looked like we had similar circumstances, and we might want to make a similar effort. And their effort was successful. And one of the things they did was get the services of a professional lobbyist. Our lobbyist is AWC, but they generally aren't going to do something for a specific city. So cities that want something for themselves hire a lobbyist typically. We did ask AWC for referrals, and we got 3 anyway. So we tried to make contact with all of them, and this firm seemed to be the one that was the most qualified for our purposes and responsive. In terms of the specifics of the project, there are significant benefits. Like I said before, the cost of the project is $4 million, and we're obliged to build it under a mandate from the state. If we got to borrow the money, then it becomes ultimately added to the utility bills for people at about $1 per $1 million that you use to build. So if we can get funding for it that we don't have to pay back, then we save that amount. We've talked about the cost of this, and I'll get to that in a minute, but the idea is the cost is fairly minimal, at least relative to the cost of doing the project, and so it seemed worthwhile to, let's give it a go. There are other benefits besides just meeting the state mandate. To the extent that we take inflow and infiltration waters out of our sewer system, it actually frees up capacity at the main treatment plant. And if you free up capacity, that means you have more capacity left to be able to do economic development. There's also another project that we're contemplating that would work hand in hand with this. It's not a mandate, but it does add a lot more value for a minimal amount of money, and a lot of it is economic development value. And that is to create an intertie between the satellite plant and the main sewer plant. Assuming that there is new capacity at the main plant, we have less capacity at the satellite plant, and yet that's the growth area for Shelton. So, and we're using up about half the capacity at the satellite plant right now, but a lot of the rest of it is reserved for our state partners. So it isn't like we can hook up somebody else and they come and ask us for that capacity that they've purchased by mainly paying for the bulk of the cost of the plant. We really have to have it available to them. So Shelton Hills is going to start. There's potential for other industrial development nearby. It makes sense if we have, what we don't want to do is get that started and then have somebody come in and reserve a couple hundred connections and then be out of capacity. So it'd be good if we could be able to move sewage, at least on an interim basis, down to the main plant and collect sewer connection charges that we can use to upgrade the satellite plant rather than having to borrow the money. So it gives us, so there's significant benefit to that portion of the project, and I believe that ought to be included in our request as well. I don't have a number on that. We're supposed to get a preliminary number tomorrow. Essentially, economic development requires infrastructure, and we've built a lot. We've already made that investment, but it'd be good if we, for the balance of the estimate we make, we get some help, because there are benefits to the state to the extent that we're able to facilitate economic development locally. The cost of the lobbying is in the neighborhood of $3,500 a month, probably through a period of around 4 months. This is expensive, but again, not much compared to the total benefit. The funding would come from the sewer utility, and of course any benefit would also accrue to the sewer utility, which means the ratepayers who are paying the sewer bills. There are some additional reporting requirements that we've learned about. We do need to file quarterly reports to the Public Disclosure Commission. There are a certain number of hours that if we put in excess of a certain number of hours, which is pretty minimal, then we've got to keep track of our own time that we spend lobbying, and so we need to do that as well. We need a plan to be able to do that. The only one thing that I did not get in the staff report, this had to come together fairly quickly. This has all been moving very quickly, and we weren't sure who we were even going to use until just a few days ago. Recommend for us to use it. Excuse me. And we haven't got this budgeted, but the amount is small enough to where it is available within the sewer fund, but we do need a budget for it. So assuming that you agree with staff recommendation to approve this contract with David Arbaugh and Associates, you should also give me the authorize the city administrator to make the necessary budget amendments. Also, Leslie Ann noticed the contract that we got doesn't have a designated signee, either the mayor, myself, or the full commission or anything. I think the simplest thing is just to have me sign it, and then just authorize me to sign on behalf of the commission. So that concludes my report. I'll be glad to answer questions.
Any questions, comments?
No, I think it's worth the effort, just to see, and any little bit we can get will definitely help us, and it may be the best shot.
And the only concern I had was that so much of lobbying is a personal relationship with folks. So is Mr. Arbaugh going to be doing that, or his associates?
Mr. Arbaugh will be helping us through that. We'll need to make significant contributions to this ourselves in the way of making phone calls, showing up for hearings, that sort of thing. He just knows the ropes, right. And he'll know when, for instance, if there's if a hearing comes up where this is going to be under consideration, you really need to have somebody around if you're going to be able to be there when the critical time is. We've talked. I should suggest a question. We have had conversations with all three of our legislators, and they're all, at least at this point, they're supportive of the effort. They want to help us to get the money. Also, you've heard reports that the legislature doesn't have a lot of money, but they typically have a capital budget, and capital is accounted for separate from ongoing, just as it is in our organization. So even under the worst of years, they've always been able to produce a capital budget with significant resources. Now that could change this year, and of course there are no guarantees with this process. So we're the money. Who knows what we're getting anything back for the money? But the upside is so good that it makes it worth the risk.
I know that there is a guarantee that we are endeavoring to do our job for the citizens of Shelton to save money for them that they're going to have to pay back. So that's a guarantee that we're trying to find some money to help in this extremely expensive process. And, I think this is what we need to do. The upside, again, the amount of effort for what we possibly could get, it is definitely if we don't get it, we can at least go before the citizens and say, we did these measures to try and get some help in this. And there is a state capital fund. We've already heard the testimony of one city that got millions of dollars because they couldn't see putting the burden on their citizens. So if one city got it, Shelton's another city. This is the process you need to go through to get that stuff. You got to get a lobbyist, you got to go over and you got to fight, and I would say I'm willing to fight. So if you need me to go over and testify, I'm happy to go over there and talk to them. So I think it's a great thing, and so I'm excited about it. And thank you for all your pushing this through, you and staff, in getting this to this point because of the legislative session that's coming up soon. It kind of got rushed on us, but we didn't really find out about this process much, and the success rate one city had. So I'm excited about it. So I guess that's our discussion on this. All right, any public comment on this action item? I don't see any at the moment. So is there a motion to approve this contract with Dave Arbaugh and Associates for lobbying services?
I would move that we approve the contract with David Arbaugh and Associates for lobbying service and to authorize the city administrator to make any necessary budget amendments or adjustments, and also to sign the contract when ready.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. New business, there's no new business it looks like at this time, but we are now turning this over to our city administrator again, Dave O'Leary, for administration report.
Nothing additional to report this week, Your Honor.
Okay, there is another opportunity for public comment, and I will, for the record, say I did get a phone call just this morning from a concerned citizen about school security over, we know the tragic event that happened back east with the 26 people that got killed in a school shooting, and this is a parent that has children in the Shelton School District. I told them they could be happy to come and talk tonight or submit a letter to all three of us commissioners about their concerns, and they, being parents and children, they didn't make it tonight, but I know the debate is out there on what to do in situations like this, what a city should do or could do, and so I'm just bringing that information forward, something for us to all think about in our role in helping make our schools a safe place to educate our children. So that's just, I added that into public comment time there. So administration final touches?
Steve?
As it's the end of the year, we have a number of budget amendments and modifications we need to submit. Sewer, water, storm, EM&R funds all had some adjustments that we'll need to bring forward. I'd like to do that on the 27th.
Okay.
Other touches? I'll have one that Kathy Byerly is not, she's up working, which is typical for her this time of day. But she wanted me to mention one that isn't in Steve's world. It's a transfer to cover bond payments. We did this last year too. More people are getting behind on their property taxes. They're not paying on the normal schedule, so they pay a little later. The problem is there's an assumption that they're going to pay a normal amount, and the amount that comes from a certain portion of our property taxes is dedicated toward the bond payments on this building. And of course, with fewer of them paying it, that means that there's a shortage in that particular fund, and so we need to make up for it out of the general fund. It's not a large amount of money; it's around $3,000, but it is something that we need to give or take. She didn't have an exact number, but she will next week. So we'll need to do that as well on the 27th.
All right. One other item of business, I would like to welcome our new Public Works Director, Greg Clark, here. This is your first meeting, and so welcome, and we appreciate you being part of our team. Is there anything that you had to say for us tonight?
Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate having the job offer and getting to go to work, and more I dive into things here, the more excited I am about being here. Very busy schedule, lots of stuff going on here, but that's good. I like to be busy, and so I think Steve and I, we're going to tag team this for a little while, but once I get up to speed, give him a little break. He's been doing double time here, so. But I'm enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to ongoing interactions.
Great. Thank
That's
you
it,
very
that's
much.
it on the touches, Your Honor.
Is that done? Okay, our next meeting will be Monday, December 24th.
Nope.
Oh, God. Just a second, let me read my fine print. Pardon? Take that back, erase that. The meeting on Monday, December 24th has been canceled and rescheduled for Thursday, December 27th at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. The meeting for Monday, December 31st, 2012 has also been canceled. There you go, I got it. Before I speak, I should read, right? So basically, we're combining those meetings. We're having one meeting. It will be Thursday, December 27th at 2 p.m.
And we're canceling the meeting on New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve.
Right, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. We're going to mix those into one. And this is the rare month where we have 5 Saturdays or Fridays, and that'll happen about 2 million years from now again. So we're going to do our part to make it one meeting. So that's all I have to say, and we'll just adjourn this meeting now. Thank you very much.